Hey everyone, Tom here. Wanted to show you an aircraft and some air-to-ground missiles that I built today in Kerbal Space Program. You can see this jet plane has two Panther engines and I've mounted 6 stock missiles that I've built. We're going to try to blow up the Space Center with these, because if you're anything like me, you've been frustrated enough by this game that sometimes you just want to blow up your whole space program. We could call this the Trump run. And I'll give you a quick overview of these missiles. It's basically 12 Separatrons on this version. I have an antenna on the tip just for fun, and fuel tank. There's an Oscar B fully fueled, and a liquid fuel fuselage, and I think the back one also fueled. So we have a fair amount of fuel there for our explosion. This thing, with all of these missiles and extra fuel, got over 1,000 liquid fuel. In the actual tanks, I think I have only a few hundred units of liquid fuel. Pick up some speed. I mean, it looks pretty badass with a bunch of missiles on there. And we are going to try to blow this thing up. One trick is that you have to come in at pretty low speed, and the missiles have to hit the Space Center at relatively low speed. If you're going too fast, like now, your missiles will actually go right through the Space Center, and the impact won't register, and you won't get any good explosion and no satisfaction in your attempt to destroy your own space program. So instead, we will bleed off quite a bit of speed. I'm actually going to loop it. Looping around. So we'll try to just blow this thing up. Now I'm going to go to a quarter throttle. A little closer than I would have liked, so that we're not really lined up right now. I'm going to try to line that up. Looking good. Looking good. I'm going to fire. Looks good. Awesome! Okay, that was sick. So I was going about 100 meters per second there. Blew the crap out of the Space Center. You can see one bit of debris there. We've still got 4 missiles, and as you can see, I have them staged in pairs. So the next two are the outer edge, and then we'll go to the inner set. So let's try to blow up the control tower this time. See what we can do. With some more thrust. Do not want to crash. I'm actually going to come out this way. So at this point, you can imagine a bunch of Kerbals scrambling around, wondering why this test flight has gone so poorly, and the Space Center has been destroyed by the missiles, the very missiles that they were attempting to test. Unlikely scenario for a real space program, but plausible. This guy has gone crazy. We have maybe Valentina, she's gone crazy in her test plane, where she's filled with rage on all the crazy missions to Duna that we sent her on before. And again, I think that speed was pretty good. This is going to be a bit of a tougher shot because this thing's pretty low to the ground. So I want to get that tower lined up. I mean, this looks good to me. Hit one. Definitely hit, but I think maybe we're going a little too fast at 140 meters per second, so some of that velocity carried to the missiles, and the tower didn't blow, but I'm going to try to land this thing just for fun, then we'll go to the spaceplane hangar and I can show you how I designed those missiles, which took some amount of trial and error. This plane, as it turns out, is pretty maneuverable after you ditch something like 800 units of liquid fuel. So you can see how much faster it's going. I'm going to drop the throttle down again. I'm going to come in for a landing pretty aggressively. See if we can land this thing. Hit the gear. Hit the brakes. Still coming in really fast. I'm actually going to do a loop. This is one of my favorite little tricks. If you are coming in too hot, just pull up, do a loop, bleed off a lot of speed. Make sure that you're not going to crash though. Still coming in hot. Bleed off all speed. Perfect. Okay, so we landed this thing. Awesome. And you can see over there our destroyed space center. Sorry, program. Now we want to revert to the spaceplane hangar, and I'll show you a little more on those missiles and the staging. So here we have our plane, and these are basically small hardpoints with missile, let's see. I will actually just pull this thing off. You can see that doesn't really give us a good view, sorry. But we've got our separatrons arranged around the missile. Started by building the missile first and then merging it with the craft. So you can get, I'll actually show you that. You can get a balanced view of the mass and mass lift and thrust on the missile itself to make sure that it's going to fly straight once you release it. And I've also got a light here on the back just for fun, if we ever did a night launch. Almost like a tracer on the missile, although the separatrons give you enough light anyway, so they're kind of irrelevant. Or useless in fact, and we're not going to save because I moved those missiles around and that was pretty nicely balanced before. So what we're going to look at is our rocket designs, and one of these is called, I think I called it the green flash because I had the light on the back. This is basically how I designed this thing. You can see we've got those 12 separatrons, liquid fuel tanks, the light on the back, and let's do a launch, and I'm going to kick this up 20 degrees. Oh, except we want to do that here, not bending the missile in half. That's 20 degrees, I think. Let's launch it. So when I was designing these, tried different variations, tried some spark engines on the sides, which also worked pretty well. The separatrons I like just because they provide that instantaneous thrust on release or on launch of the missile. We'll just fire this thing. This is basically how I tested it. Build it horizontal, tilt it to 20 degrees, and fire just to see how it flies. That is our missile. See, we got up to almost 600 meters per second and flies pretty stable. So the stuff you'd experiment with is the positioning of the fins on the back and the weight of the fuel, how much fuel you have in each section on the front. That's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed.